How's it going, guys? We're tying up some hollow tide flies today. So this little back portion is just made with some 50-pound monofilament, and it's just kind of the tail for this fly. It's a little strange, but whoa, goodness gracious, we got a lot of glue in there. It just kind of helps create a nice tail on this guy. Try to scrape some of that off. There we have that. And now I'm going to go ahead and put in the actual hook that we're going to be using, which is going to be a IRX 6/0 hook. This is going to be a short shank, and we'll plop this into a vise right away. There we go. And now I'm gonna grab my thread. I'm using 140 denier in like a brownish olive color. Goodness gracious, this is squeaky today. Yeah, hopefully. How's it going, Liam? How are we doing today? I'm tying some pike flies for you. Alrighty, so we've got that, and now I'm just gonna take my 50-pound mono, piece. This is just kind of a standard hollow tide fly. How's it going, Daisy? This is kind of a standard hollow fly tie. It doesn't really have a name. It's more so just kind of a nice, kind of classic hollow tie. It's almost like a base that you can kind of, learn from and experiment with. So we just kind of can measure with some deer tail here. And I'm going to tie this guy in. And this has no actual load bearing, so we don't need to fold this over or anything. We can just keep this straight, tie it in well, obviously, but you don't, it doesn't have a hook attached to it, so you don't really got to worry about it pulling out or anything like that. I'm just going to wrap up and down the shank a little bit, and now I'm going to take my wire snips. This is some pretty thick old mono, so you can just use some wire snips. You're tying ants right now? Nice. Yeah, I love ants. I got some ants. I got this Squirrely Outdoors, who's commenting, also got some of these. Some ants from a gentleman. Gave us a few ants at a fly tying show that are very nice. I'll have to be mimicking those at some point. Really cool kind of bulbous shape to them. Goodness, my Renzetti Traveler vise is it's very loose right now. Yeah, epoxy ants are they don't float very good. I don't know. I don't really have much of an opinion on epoxy ants, but they can be kind of annoying, low-key. They're fun to tie, though, and they look cool. They just are, I don't know. They're kind of annoying to fish sometimes, is my only issue with them. Okay, so I'm going to start off by kind of starting to model this up. So I'm going to start off with a singular color. I'll start off with some white, I guess. But then I'm going to actually be blending bucktail today. On how to tie. What kind of ants are you tying? Epoxy ants? Foam ants? And I'm just going to straight tie this in. Whoa, god dang. Hook point. Straight tie this in. We just want kind of a nice thin base on this. Epoxy, nice. You put hackle on yours, or you fish them like nymphs? Just the red ants? Nice. I've got some of those in my box. Mostly fish them like nymphs because they don't really float very well. Like, you put hackle on them, but I don't put a lot of floating on my flies usually, or on my ant flies. Normally, I just kind of let them kind of do their thing because they don't float very well. So if I want a floating fly, I use foam. But they're a great kind of general all-water column fly, that's for sure. I just don't really like them as a dry fly, though. They're kind of annoying. Alrighty, so we've got the start of our straight ties in. Goodness, this bobbin is making me mad. I got it for free, so I can't really complain, but I do like my Smayan bobbin better. Okay, and now we're going to start blending bucktails, which I think is really fun. So I've got this deer tail that I harvested, or that is harvested here in my home state. So it's a good Midwestern. Yeah, for sunnies and perch for sure. Yeah, and that hackle, it's great for floating, but it also just gives it really good action, which I think is cool. And I'm just going to take a little clump of white and black. Liam, have you been thinking about getting a pike rod? So I'm just blending these. I've got 2 clumps. I'm going to start off with some black and some white, and I'm just going to kind of roll them around. And that'll create a really cool kind of modded, like like white and black. It'll create a really cool looking kind of design, and then I can kind of accentuate that with. Yeah, it's kind of valid. I don't have money either. Poor college students don't have a lot of money. So we've got white and black there. And I'm going to throw this in a hair stacker now. So we've got a cool little modded texture design. Just go ahead and save up for a rod that'll treat you well, you know. As far as YouTube knows, yes, Liam, I am in college. And so are you. Right, Liam? You're in college. You're just young for your age. So there's a fun little design or fun little texture in there. I do have some that are a little short that I'll have to pull out, but overall, it'll make a nice, cool black and white texture. And I'm not gonna work as far forward as I want because I want to put in my belly. My belly is just gonna be straight white. I don't really want all that black in there, just some white. Oops, drop my bucktail. And I'm using bucktail from Musky Fool. Besides this white bucktail, I'll never go back to normal bucktail from normal fly shops. Musky Fool's my favorite. I'm sure there's lots of other good brands out there, but Musky Fool's, I don't know. Ever since time with Musky Fool, my flies have just been so much better. Like, I know it's a lot of skill, but when you see this really beautiful like bucktail craftsmanship, a lot of it is just comes from that choice of bucktail. Bucktail quality matters so much. Same with like deer hair quality, hackle quality, things like that. And you don't need good hackle to tie a good fly, but it helps, you know? And so I think being able to get good quality bucktail, especially at like this basically the same price as as you know, all the other bucktail is definitely a big W. So if you want to tie a lot of musky pike, largemouth, smallmouth, brown trout flies, definitely go for some nice northern bucktail like this stuff from Muskie Fool. So I've got a nice light modeling here. I will be kind of increasing that as we go along. I might add, I don't know, some yellow or something fun. But for right now, just got some white and black. And I'll bring that back with just, you know, an old spool. And now I'm going to really kind of crease this down. This is, you know, a hollow tide fly, so you really want to make sure it's nice and creased. What kind of pike, muskie, you know, big game streamer rod are you looking at right now, Liam? Really kind of crease it down. It really helps kind of keep that in place. And now I'm just gonna kind of hollow tie that in, just like that. Bring this up. Goodness, we're right at that hook point. That's kind of... You're not sure? Have you looked at gosh dang, TFO, Temple Fork Outfitters at all? They have some, how's it going? They have some rods. I think they have their, oh, what is it called? They have a Pro 2. They also have one other than the Pro 2. It's slightly cheaper. The Pro 2 is like 2 something. One of their rod series is like something 2 or something 3, and it's like $150. And they make like every size. They make like 2 weights up to, I'm not sure how big they go, but yeah, they've got some nice rods in the TFO lineup that aren't super expensive. I've got one of their cheaper models, and that's actually, you know, pretty good. All right, so I'm just kind of tying that in. It should look something like this. You definitely can bullet tie. Bullet tying is fine. It works really well, but I prefer just to kind of hollow tie, at least in this stage. As we get further, sometimes I'll bullet tie once in a while, but for right now, we're just doing it this style. I'm going to grab a little bit more of my Zap-A-Gap. Try not to absolutely slap it everywhere like last time. My my nozzle, unfortunately, had to be cut off because it got all gooped up. It's quite a shame, so now I'm kind of left with this horrible, massive crater in my Zap-A-Gap I got to be really careful of. And it flows out really, really slow, and then as soon as it comes up super fast like that. You don't need a ton of Zap-A-Gap, though. Dude, my birthday is 1 day away from yours. You're getting a Reddington? Your Reddington is really good. Reddington rods and reels are really good. I have a Reddington rod that is really freaking good. I use it for like salmon steelhead fishing. Really good rod. Alrighty, so now I'm gonna go in with some hackle, and I'm actually gonna go with some yellow hackle. I'm gonna kind of mix in some yellow into this fly. I think it'll look kind of cool. Maybe look a little bit perch-like for the pike and muskies around me in the Midwest. So kind of strip off these back fibers. Very cool. Yeah. What remind me what rivers are around you? So now I'm gonna go ahead and tie these in, and I usually like to start with like the actual feather itself tying in, because that'll stop it from spinning, and then you can go back on the stem, and it'll stop it from spinning so much and kind of getting in positions you don't really like. Like what rivers do you like to fish out east? Fair enough. Okay, and now I'm gonna put a few feathers around, just like most of the way around. I won't put them on the very bottom, but like most of the way around. We'll put them. Peel back these fibers. Boop. How far down are the muskie populations? How far down are the muskie? I know that they have them in like Maine and stuff. That's a big problem for them. Are they, how far down east are they? Are they down where you guys are? Or are they more like, kind of like, is there like a little split? Because I think they have them down in like the Carolinas or somewhere, I thought. I don't really keep up with eastern muskies very well, so I probably don't know very well. Alrighty, I've got, what, 4 hackles on here? God dang. I got 4 hackles on here. And that should be good. Give it a nice color. And now we'll start to blend in some yellow bucktail into this bucktail. I've got some old scraps from old bucktails that I've got in my my drawers up here. That should work well. Oh, really? It's got muskie grass river. That's cool. Muskies are freaking cool fish, let me tell you. They're just so awesome. Alrighty, got some more scraps of bucktail here that I'm gonna use. And I'm just gonna kind of blend these with my other colors. I'm gonna keep that black and that white in there, but I'm gonna blend, I don't know, probably a quarter clump of yellow in there too. These are really nice long fibers. I wish I could say the same for this bucktail right here. Tiger muskie. Very cool. Yeah, tiger muskies are really fun fish. They don't stock them very much around here because, you know, they want them to breed, you know, so they stock a lot of just normal muskies. But, you know, the good thing about tiger muskies is they are triploid. So, especially in places, you know, where you live, where they don't want them. They just want them to probably, for a sport fish, and also to kind of control the populations of, you know, I don't know what's in that river, probably pike and bass. But they won't breed, you know, versus muskies. If they get breeding, they are breeding, you know. So I've got these guys kind of mixed around pretty well. I'm gonna just grab my brush and brush this out just a little bit more. And this will kind of just intertwine those fibers a little bit more. Mostly you can kind of like scoot them around in here and kind of fold them in and out of themselves, and it'll kind of help them to line up a little better. Yeah, they definitely eat a lot of bluegill and sunfish, perch, things of that nature as well. So we got these mixed. Actually, I don't love how well these are mixed. They're not mixed super well. So I'm just gonna continue to kind of fold these in and out for just another second or two. And then I'll give them another stack. And this will kind of make a really cool mottled mixed texture that looks really fun on the final product. It almost looks like synthetics, which I think is really fun. And as you can see by stacking that, all that hair is nice and lined up. When you're tying just one color, it's usually not a big deal because you kind of can usually keep them pretty, you know, in line. But when you're tying bigger amounts of bucktail, and especially with multiple bucktail types from multiple bucktails, it really helps to kind of stack them up a little bit. Go ahead and tie these in pretty tight, and then I'm gonna go to the bottom and once again tie in some white bucktail. I'm gonna use this towards the back to kind of allow for a little bit more spreading of this bucktail. tying this in. And we don't need a ton because we want this almost to be like a triangular shape, otherwise the fly won't keel properly. If you tie in a lot of material at the bottom, it'll kind of almost flip over on itself, which is obviously not good. It'll create a kind of a horrible look. By the way, Liam, I'm gonna go to a fly shop soon, hopefully, and I'll be getting some dragon tails so I can tie up some dragon tail flies. If you're ever on, I'll tie one up. I don't have any right now, unfortunately. So, at this stage, I think I'll actually just show you what a bullet tie looks like, or how to do one well, you know. So I'm gonna kind of just crease this once again, make a fun little triangular shape to kind of help keel that fly. If anybody has any questions or comments or requests, definitely leave them down below. And at this stage, I'm just gonna kind of try to pinch these down or work my way. Pickerel, sunnies, bass, crappie, grass carp. Put 250-inch muskie in there. Now there's like nothing in there. Yeah, what are they doing? Putting 250-inch muskies? That's so stupid, bro. What? Yeah, I don't know what DNR was in charge of that, but they are stupid. Yeah, that was not smart. They could have done a lot different things than that. So yeah, I'm just showing you how this bullet tie looks. How's it going, Peter? So this is what a bullet tie looks like. You know, some people do them really, like a lot on the shank. I tend to just do only a few wraps, and then I'll put some Zap-A-Gap on there. And this is also what that cool kind of mottled texture looks like. You guys can't see it as much from this angle, but as you can see, it does make a really cool looking. Yeah, that was really, if they wanted to control the population, they should have either like electroshocked the place, had people come and like asked them to take out fish, or put in like pike, or even like putting in some like 12-inch muskies. That would slowly take care of the population. 250-inch muskies, or even if there are 30-inch muskies, are just going to instantly decimate that population. Yeah, pickerel, yeah, the same thing. Pickerel are also, you know, they're in the Esox family, I believe, yeah. And, you know, all those Esox will take care of them. And, yeah, I know, like, I assume chain pickerel, probably not grass pickerel. But, yeah, they'll definitely, you know, be able to kind of help with that. And then even if you put some northern pike in there, if you put in some small muskies, they would definitely do much better. So, anyway, that's what that kind of mottled look makes it look like. Pretty cool looking texture on there. And now I'm going to add in some flash. And I'm going to go with some purple. I think purple and yellow look pretty cool together. So we've got some purple crystal flash right here. I'm going to grab a relatively small chunk. I don't want this to be super flashy. I want this to be mostly kind of bucktail oriented. I don't want this just to be a pure kind of flash fly. So I'm going to go pretty light, but we'll still add some. So crystal flash, I'm going to go about 50-50 on top and bottom. So yeah, flash on top, bring this down, flash on bottom. And the rest, and then hop our way up onto that spot again. And then I'll kind of spin these just a little bit, just to make sure they're not all just on top. Kind of spin those around just a little bit more. Goodness gracious, this bobbin is making me mad. And I think, I don't know how many more bucktail stacks we'll get in there. We'll get a few more in. So now I'm going to do this same kind of mixing, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to start off with my white bucktail, grabbing about probably a third stack of that. Next up, I'll go with my black bucktail, and I'll grab just a little bit bigger of a stack of that. Okay, sounds good, Liam. Liam's pretty chatty. Nobody else is very chatty though. They're just sitting back and watching. So you've got about that much. And now I'm gonna grab my yellow bucktail. Where did I drop it at? Oh, always misplacing something I am. Okay, there we go. I've got this little bucktail scrap here. I'll grab about that much of yellow bucktail. And again, and I'll continue to mix these. So I'll mix these guys around. And then once again, I'll grab my hair stacker. I do usually like to use this this loon hair stacker right here, but it's a little bit too small for what I'm doing with this bucktail, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would use it way more for this kind of stuff. I don't have their bigger hair stackers, and even their bigger hair stackers, I would imagine, based on looking at them, that they probably aren't quite to this kind of size. This generally works pretty well for what I'm doing anyways, so this is good for deer tail in particular, so I don't really mind. But I'll give those some nice thwacks. As you can see, nice lined up bucktail we got there. And I'm actually gonna mix these around one more time just to get them nice and mixed. And in the meantime, there we go. Make sure there's no scraggly fibers in there. Those are all tied in well. Oh yeah, in the meantime, do I have? No, I do not. There's still some on the tip, luckily. Put just a little bit of Zap-A-Gap on there. Let it kind of dry a little bit, just to help secure everything in place nicely. Make sure none of that falls apart. You don't want, you're spending, you know, an hour on a fly. You don't want it to fall apart on a toothy pike or muskie or, who knows, saltwater fish. I don't know a lot of saltwater fish. I don't live anywhere near the ocean. Otherwise, I'd be able to say. There we go. I'm actually going to give this one more thwack. There's still quite a few fibers that aren't really quite to my liking in terms of stacking. There we go. Sometimes you got to give it an extra thwack or two. There we go. Nice mixed bucktail. And I'll go ahead and do the same thing. So wrap over the top, and this one wasn't stacked very well, unfortunately. I think I had some fibers that were kind of scraggling out, but go ahead and really kind of cinch down on those. Yeah, we had some poorly stacked fibers here, didn't we? That's fine. Still got a nice mottled look, so it'll be all good. And yeah, I'll tie those in, and then I'll go with some white on the bottom. And that will continue to make that kind of nice white look, or belly look, nice white belly look on the bottom, but then maintain that cool yellow look on the top. Grab my white bucktail. Throw that on. And then I'll go ahead and cinch that down a little bit. And now I'm just going to work everything forward, and that'll make sure that everything has a, you know, the same fold back point. That way some aren't like farther back than others. And then I'll go ahead and grab my spool, fold those back, You can also use your hands, obviously, but I just prefer using a tool of some sort because it kind of helps maintain. Okay, cilium. It kind of helps maintain a nice shape. And I'm gonna, make a little folding shape just to make sure that everything is really nice and creased down. It makes a really much better look, in my opinion. And I'm gonna hollow tie this again. I think we've got enough room to do one more, assuming I put in some more hackle or some more feathers in between. So now that we've got, it's kind of annoying because I like to really crease this over, but I also want to show you guys. So yeah, so all I'm doing is just really folding this over nicely. And I'm going to make it nice thread dam in front. And again, you could also bullet tie this, but at this stage, I want to really make sure that this is making a nice big profile because these last few bundles are really going to be the ones that you want to make a nice bulky head with, because in the end, that'll make a... this is an example of a fly I tie. That'll be pretty similar to this one, actually. That, you want a nice bulky kind of head area and a slightly thinner tail area. And that'll create a nice kind of, profile in the water. Buy these shining plastic threads. The shining plastics threads... What? The thread comes from a fly shop. This is ultra thread. The bucktail comes from fly shops and from hunters. Oh yeah, or I was gonna say or the crystal flash also comes from fly shops. It's a flash type. And I forgot to put some I forgot to put Zap-A-Gap on these. That'll be fine. I'll put some on this instead. Got a little pool of my... And as you can see, my my Zap-A-Gap container is slightly damaged. I had a little problem. My nozzle got clogged up and I had to pull it way out, or cut it way off, so it's really annoying for tying flies, but I'll have to be getting a new one soon anyway because mine is getting really low. So a little bit of Zap-A-Gap on there. Make sure it's tied back enough, but you don't need to tie back too much, obviously. And that kind of that mixing of those bucktails, which makes a really fun little mottled texture, that white, black, and yellow. And I'm gonna tie in some more hackle. I might introduce some grizzly here too. I'll do 2 hackles of yellow to start off for sure, though. So again, I kind of like peel back that those feathers just a bit, but I do tie in the feather bit first before I actually tie in the stem, because that stops it from kind of rolling. Otherwise, it seems like it really rolls a lot. It's really annoying to get it in place. So first you do that, then you do the stem. I'll do one. Do the same for the other one. Cut this off. Again, doing the exact same thing. And there we have it. And that makes a fun little look. And then I'll also add some grizzly hackle. It'll make just kind of a cool looking barred look. And grab a couple of those. You want probably 2 of them. And I'll do the exact same thing. I'll make these guys a little longer though, just to make that cool little barred overall texture. And tie them in the same way, feather first, then move back on the stem. Doop. Just like that. There we have it. Do another one. And we want them to be about the same length. It doesn't matter if they're, different lengths. These aren't, you know, they're meant to look cool, but they don't have to be show flies. These are made to be rugged, musky flies, pike flies, even big brown trout flies, depending on what size hook you're using. So you really don't got to worry about how exact proportions. There we go. I guess you probably can't see this very well, can you? The overall look. So now we're gonna do one last wrap of bucktail, and for this I want to do a really nice job of incorporating all of the colors that I'm using. So again, I'm gonna grab my white bucktail right away and grab a nice clump of that, just like that. And then I'll grab my black right away, do the exact same thing, and grab probably about an equal clumpage amount of bucktail. You don't need more of any one. There we go. 2 different colors, and then I'll go in with my third color, which will be my yellow, which I'm getting from this little scrap. And I'll grab about an equal amount, maybe a little less. This has been pretty yellow heavy. I think on this last clump, we're gonna want to kind of tone that down just a hair. And again, we've got our last color there. And I'm just gonna go ahead and mix these together. So I'm gonna start off with my fingers, just mixing them around manually, spinning them around each other. Kind of shaking my hands back and forth to keep them all mixed up. And then I'm going to grab my dubbing brush. This one's from Loon. You can also use, you know, a hair comb, things like that. And just kind of like rub them like back and forth on this. And then like refold them. And that'll help really kind of mix these guys together. And then after you get what you think is a good amount of mixing, they don't have to be perfect. You know, like, you know, a little bit of a certain color in a certain spot isn't going to really matter. And it makes it look, you know, more natural in some ways. As long as there, you know, there's an even enough distribution, should be fine. And after you get to whatever you want to do, I'll grab my hair stacker. And you don't need anything massive. You know, you could still use a Loon hair stacker or something, but a bigger hair stacker does definitely make it easier to do these larger amounts. But if you're just tying this for like brown trout or something like that, definitely you can definitely just use a smaller amount. You know, you can use a smaller hook. This is a 6/0 hook. You definitely don't need to use that big of a hook for a lot of fish, but for the muskies that this fly is going to be primarily targeting, this is kind of the size that we're thinking. And as you can see, this now is a really fun mottled texture on there. Looks really fun. I'm going to go ahead and tie that in. And I'm using, by the way, this is 140 denier thread. So good kind of all-around streamer thread. And put just enough pressure on there that it doesn't break. And now on the bottom, once again, going in with some white bucktail. Once again, or natural bucktail, I guess I could say. It's white. I'm going to call it white. I'm gonna set these yellow hackles aside for right now. Okay, so there we go. I'm gonna add maybe just one more clump of this white to really kind of fill out the look of the streamer. And I'll just kind of spread these out, fan them out along that whole belly. We don't want as much here as on the top because that'll obviously keel the fly in a weird way. We really want this fly to keel down. And so having more material on the top and way less on the bottom will really help to do that naturally. So you don't need to add any weight if you do this right. Now I'm just gonna take whatever random Before we do that, hold up. My bad. We're gonna grab some Zap-A-Gap. I forgot that on the last hollow tie, which is a shame. But yeah, so we'll go ahead. Some nice Zap-A-Gap. And I just use an old hook to do this. You can just use a bodkin for sure. I just am too lazy, I guess. And I'm gonna let this dry really quick. One way to kind of make it dry a little bit less is let it soak in for just a second and then just tap it really quick. You'll get a little bit on your fingers, but it tends to just kind of take out that excess that just isn't necessary. And I'll just kind of brush out this just to make sure there's not too many loose fibers, because there's some shorter fibers in there that didn't get stacked properly, almost always. So you gotta just take care of that. As you can see, that makes a really cool model texture. And from there, I'll just fold this over, and again, I'll really make sure to fold those fibers over. These fibers usually do a really good from just getting folded just a little bit. And as you can see, we tied that in really well, so there's not much room at this top, and we can just make a nice head. So I'm gonna continue, fold these over. And there we go. So I'll continue to kind of brush these back as I go along. And now I'm gonna build up a nice head. And with this 140 denier, it won't take too long. And every so often you can kind of just check. That's looking pretty good. I'll continue to kind of pinch these just a hair as I... Goodness gracious, this bobbin is still so squeaky. I got it for free, so I don't really got to worry about it. It's not a big deal, but it is silly. And there we have it. That is pretty much our fly. I'll make sure that these little weird, straggly, tiny little fibers of bucktail get either pinched off or tied back. And now, make sure that my head looks good. Give it a quick 360. It's nothing worse than, you know, looking at this top or on the sides and saying, oh, you know, this looks great. How's it going? And then you whip finish, and when you go to the bottom, it's just a bunch of like loose bucktail sticking out. Like that's just horrible. Usually I just retie on my thread and redo the head because it frustrates me so much. And there we have it. So I'm gonna give this a quick whip finish. Cut that off. And now I'm gonna start off the final kind of gluing steps, which is super important on these. How's it going, your daily apple? We got a British person on here now, oh no. And, oh shoot, woof, goodness. This Zap-A-Gap comes out quick when it comes, that's for sure. So just gonna put this just along the bottom, usually is what I do, with some Zap-A-Gap, making sure there's nice coverage on that. Spread it around, try not to get it on the hair, obviously, but make sure it's all nice and covered. And then I'll wait just a little second for that to dry. And then in the meantime, oh yeah, you had a nice tea break. Alrighty, that's been a nice amount of time to let that dry. Now I'm gonna flip this over and I'm gonna grab my final UV resin steps. I believe I dropped my UV resin, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Oh, I got quite the mess of bucktails on my desk, that's for sure. Okay, I gotta find my UV resin. We'll just use this stuff. So I'm gonna put a nice amount. And with this, normally I like to use like flexible UV resin. Do I have any? Hold up. Might have some flexible. That's thin. Where's flexible? I need some flexible. This might be flexible. This is soft, perfect. Soft, flexible, same thing. Oh God. Burning my skin, god dang. Oh, you do not want to see my desk right now, dude. I just finished up tying like the majority of this box of musky flies, and my desk is a disaster of just it's a minefield of bucktails right now. Let me tell you, it's actually embarrassing how many like, and it's, I don't like have a lot of like whole bucktails. It's mostly just like little slivers of like parts of old bucktails that I've saved for future flies, which I usually do. And yeah, it's freaking bad, dude. It's really bad. I'll do one more coat of that flexible. Yeah, that's about right. It looks like a bird. I was looking at some sort of like bird, and it was like, I forgot what it was. It was a parakeet. No, it wasn't a parakeet. I don't know. It was some sort of bird that had like a really like cool, like, it almost looked like a wool head. If you ever seen a wool head on a fly, and it looks really cool. It literally looked like a musky fly. Like the bird literally looked like a musky fly. It was hilarious. Well, there we have it, guys. I think I'm about ready to end this stream. So if you have not already, please consider subscribing. It really helps me out, and I appreciate each and every subscriber. I'm going to put one more code on this. So please do consider subscribing. It's free. You can just click my at Old Time Skills 20 icon on the top and subscribe. It very much means a lot to me. If you don't want to, I'm not here to beg. But there we have it, guys. I'm going to give this a quick little douse of UV. And there is a nice hollow tied musky pike, tied in smaller sizes, brown trout, largemouth, smallmouth streamer, made with cool mottled bucktail. And I think it looks pretty goddamn cool. Thank you guys, and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys next time.